The very idea that hackers can take control, snoop and spy, and then do it all in your name on a global scale is a subject that begs for at least some sort of explanation. So we turn tonight to Keith Epstein, an investigative reporter in BusinessWeeks Washington D.C. bureau who specializes in cybersecurity. Thank you for joining us. The Chinese are denying involvement in this cyber spying, but is there evidence that the Chinese are actively involved in other cases like it?
Conclusive evidence is hard to come by in the cyber world because it's a virtual masquerade ball out there. These attacks, these intrusions, bounce around from place to place, and you have to very delicately trace them back. Now, there are ways. There are people in the intelligence and defense communities who say that the evidence is very strong, circumstantial and otherwise, that many of these intrusions in the U.S. and other Western European countries, for instance, that emanate at its source in China.
Well, this was going on for a long time. It involved computers in more than 100 countries. So what kinds of information are at risk?
All kinds of things, from intellectual property, even billions of dollars that have been spent, for instance, to develop next generation propulsion systems for the space shuttle in the U.S. Defense contractor developed things in the U.S. and other countries. But private companies have been infiltrated and have been worried about some of their proprietary secrets. Banks have had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars taken. At one stage, that was the big worry, that there would be a hacker attack that compromised the credibility of a financial institution. That now seems rather quaint. We're doing it to ourselves.
Well, you know, a lot of us worry, of course, that it's the personal information, things like our banking accounts being hacked into. But is this really the equivalent of identity theft on a global scale, or is it something different?
Well, there's a bit more to it. It's espionage, and it's theft, and it's trying to see what the other person's doing. There's a virtual cyber space race going on. And China, for one, there have been published documents in China in which the Chinese are fairly open about their ambitions to achieve dominance in space and cyberspace by mid-century.
And is there any real defense that a person can take against this?
Well, China likes to say that they are not doing anything offensive, that they're merely defending themselves whenever this occurs, and that the U.S., as much as anybody else, is guilty of offensive capabilities.
So pretty much you're left out there wondering if someone's delving into your computer right now.
Well, I, for one, have felt a little more paranoid since we embarked on these stories. I mean, the documentation, for instance, of intrusions at the Kennedy Space Center, in which investigators were able to trace back specific paths of attack back through countries such as Taiwan to China, and actually see readings on the space shuttle as it flew and penetrate defense contractors and space contractors as well, opened my eyes in a way that, you know, it's not the pimply teenager in Bratislava anymore.
Keith Epstein, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Martin.